Hey everyone, Chef Tom here. I hope you're doing well. It's getting colder out there, and what could be better than a hot bowl of soup? So today I'm going to show you how to make cream of mushroom soup. So easy and so good. Okay, let me show you the ingredients we're going to be using today for our soup. I've got about 1.5 pounds of button and cremini mushrooms, about 100 grams of shiitake mushrooms. We're going to use that for garnish. And then I have chanterelles, about 14 grams of chanterelle dried mushrooms. They're going to give us so much flavor. We have a medium onion diced. We have butter, 5 cups of chicken stock, minced garlic, 3 cloves. I've got roughly 3 tablespoons of leeks diced. We have 1 tablespoon of thyme chopped, 2 tablespoons of parsley chopped up. That's going to be for our garnish. We have half a cup of cream. We have a 1/4 cup of flour, and of course some good olive oil, and as always some salt and pepper. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to hydrate our mushrooms. So these dried chanterelles, delicious. They have so much flavor. So all I'm going to do is pour some hot water over them, just enough to cover them, and we want those to steep for about 10 minutes, and they're going to give us so much flavor for our soup. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken my mushrooms out of the liquid. They're nicely hydrated, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roughly chop these up, and then we're going to add that to the soup a little later on. Just reserve those. Perfect. And then what I'm going to do with the liquid is there might be some sand and grit in there, so I'm just going to pour it into a coffee filter and then just let that all come out. And that's the way we get all this delicious mushroom flavor without any of the sand or grit. Okay, now it's time to start our soup. So I'm roughly going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil in there, and then about half of the butter. So about 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to reserve the rest. Okay, now that the butter and oil are nice and hot, I'm going to add in my onions, get all that in there, some leeks, and then my garlic. And then we're just going to cook that until it gets nice and soft and translucent. Okay, the onions and leeks are ready to go. So we're going to start adding in our mushrooms. We're just going to let those cook down so we can get tons of flavor. Okay, so we're about halfway there. If you can see, we've got some liquid still in the pot, which is good. We're just going to let that cook down, and when these mushrooms are nice and dry and we don't see that liquid anymore, we're ready to start adding the next ingredient. There's no liquid anymore, so it's all absorbed and it's concentrated. So now I'm going to add in those chanterelles that we hydrated earlier. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to add the rest of the butter. Now we want to add in our flour, and we're just going to stir that in. And this is what we call a roux, or in this case this is an aromatic roux because we have ingredients in there. So we're just going to cook that out till the flour cooks for about 1 or 2 minutes. Now I'm going to take our chicken stock and pour that all in there. We're going to give that a stir. We're going to bring that up to a boil. At this point, I'm going to add in my chopped thyme, and I'm just going to let this all come together. Well, now our mushroom soup is boiling away. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add that reserved liquid from the chanterelle mushrooms, and I'm just going to lower the heat and let that simmer, and that's going to cook away for probably about 20 minutes. Okay, so while our soup's simmering away, this is a good time to start sauteing our shiitake mushrooms for our garnish. So I've added a little bit of butter and a touch of olive oil in our pan, and I'm just going to add these in here, and we're going to cook these really quickly. We're going to add a little bit of salt to them, some pepper, and we're going to let these saute for about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, our shiitake mushrooms look good. They're ready to come out. Turn off that heat and then just put them in a bowl and reserve them. And then we're going to use those, like I said, for garnish on top of our soup. Okay, so our soup has been simmering for about 20 minutes. Now I'm just going to put it in my blender. If you don't have a blender, you could use a food processor, or you could use one of those handheld blenders if you want. We don't want to overfill this because it's going to expand. So I think that's about right. And then we can start blending away. So we're going to give that a nice blend till it gets nice and smooth. Okay, so we blended our soup. We put it back into the pot and back onto the stove. I'm going to add my cream, and then we're going to let that come back up to a simmer. And we're going to cook this now for another 10-15 minutes so the cream gets nice and thick. Remember, when you're adding cream, you want to use a heavy cream, a whipping cream. 35% cream is what I've used here. So at this point, I'm going to season with a little bit of salt and some freshly ground pepper. Give that a stir, give it a couple more minutes, and we're ready to serve. Okay, so our soup is ready to go. I'm just going to garnish it with a few of these beautiful shiitake mushrooms just in the middle there. Beautiful. And then a touch of our chopped parsley. Does not look great? Beautiful cream of mushroom soup. So easy, so tasty. Keep cooking and see you soon.